How's it going, guys? There's an announcement over the weekend that kind of made me want to make another video because it was an announcement that, when I first read it and saw tweets about it, got me incredibly excited and then very quickly brought me back down to earth. And that was the announcement of Final Fantasy VII coming to PS4. And I haven't said it in any of my videos yet, but Final Fantasy VII is my favorite game of all time. Has been since I was pretty young, since it was first released. And I'll get into why that is in a video specifically about that at a later date, but it is my favorite game of all time. And when I first saw tweets and messages online saying FF7 on the PS4, I was incredibly taken aback and excited and just ecstatic for about 2 minutes until they announced that all they meant by that was Final Fantasy VII is being ported as a downloadable game on the PS4. They're taking the PC version and making it downloadable on PS4. And I have very mixed feelings about that. On the positive side, it being my favorite game of all time, I think everyone should experience it that wants to experience it. I'm not one of these people that, when I really like something or really revere something, want to keep it as my own and have possession of it. It's an incredible game. It's a game that's already incredibly popular. Anyone who prefers to play it on the PS4 or who by now hasn't played it and can now play it because it's on PS4, more power to you. I love the fact that, potentially new gamers will get a chance to experience what I consider to be the greatest game of all time. But what I'll talk about in a bit more depth, the reasons why I wasn't exactly ecstatic about this. It was such a weird decision to choose to use such a public platform to announce this release. They came on stage at this big PlayStation Experience conference or event, whatever it was, and they came on with a trailer with highlights of Final Fantasy VII, hyping it as a PS4 release, and it seemed like a lot of people that were there legitimately thought this could be a long-awaited announcement of a PS4 remake of Final Fantasy VII. Instead, it was just a port of an existing game. And it seems super strange to use such, a public, big event to announce the port of a game that's already available on a number of different platforms. The physical PS1 discs aren't that expensive. You can get it on Steam. There was an original PC port. You can download it on PS3 from the PlayStation Store. If you wanted to play Final Fantasy VII since release, you've had a bunch of inexpensive ways to do that. So why they thought it would be such an exciting and cool thing to have this big presentation just to announce that yet another console it can now be bought on just seems like sort of the most anticlimactic thing you could possibly do with the game. And that's all made so much worse because it's no secret to anyone that people have been clamoring and begging and asking about a potential remake of Final Fantasy VII for what feels like probably a decade now. And I'll spend just a second, I don't want to get crazy talking about that, but my views on that are, if they remade Final Fantasy VII with current gen graphics and engines and stuff, I would buy it day one. I don't care how expensive it is. I don't care if they modify things slightly. I really don't care what they do. I would absolutely buy it day one. It's my favorite game of all time. I would love to experience that game with modern amenities. But I absolutely understand why they haven't to this point. I think it'd be a hot seller. They'd almost certainly make money. I think it'd be, off the shelves as fast as they could put it on there. But I know how much would go into bringing a game that old with that dated of graphics, etc., into the modern age. A lot of people think you could just slap a new coat of paint on it like they've done with, Final Fantasy X in HD. But we're talking about a game that had, pre-rendered, essentially still image backgrounds and some of the clunkier character models you'll ever see in 3D. They would have to completely redesign all the graphics and the engine from the ground up, so it isn't as simple as just slightly altering some things and re-releasing the game. It would be years of work and hundreds of millions of dollars to make. So, and I understand, when people from Square came out and said, if the day comes where we spend years of our time and insane amounts of our resources remaking a previous game, it's almost like admitting that we can't ever outdo it with new games, so it's almost like admitting defeat. And, all that makes perfect sense to me. Even though I would like to see a remake, I think it'd do well, I think it'd be awesome. I do understand why they're not. But knowing that people have been clamoring for a remake for years, to come on stage and put up that we're getting a PC port of Final Fantasy VII on the PS4 is like, it's the equivalent of with the recent Star Wars teaser trailer. If instead of any new footage, we just got 5 seconds of old original trilogy footage with Star Wars The Force Awakens coming soon. Technically they didn't promise us anything they didn't give us, but it's not what anyone was expecting or wanting, so don't blame us for not being that excited. And I've been wanting to replay Final Fantasy VII at some point, so if I do buy a PS4 and the port is affordable, I'll probably get it. But like I said, when you have a headline like Final Fantasy VII on the PS4 or coming to PS4, don't be surprised when people's hopes get shattered that it's just yet another port of the game. So a lot of Square fans disappointed. I was disappointed to a certain extent, but will we ever see a remake? I don't know. At this point, I'm not holding my breath, but if one comes out, I'll be buying it day one. Gonna make some new gaming spotlight videos soon, like I did for Final Fantasy VI. Hopefully to have at least one of them up by the end of the week. And then just keep making stuff as I can. So, thanks for checking this out, guys. Rock on, Final Fantasy VII fans, and I'll talk to you soon.